knows, there was a recent meeting held June 4th. Was well attended, and both the advocates of fluoride and those opposed to fluoride presented considerable information. Now the information has been presented, council needs to decide on further action. The staff comment is, should the committee determine to move forward with a plebiscite, it will need to be determined no later than April 2014. But upon further investigation of this matter, it has been determined that fluoridation can be discontinued by the establishment of a bylaw. Is one independent of the other, Paul? Simply a bylaw can be decided by council, or it needs to be so reported by a referendum?
No, council has the choice of
one or the other. Okay, the staff recommendation is that, as recommended by the medical officer of health, the long-standing practice of adding fluoride to the drinking water continue. So, discussion from council. Mayor LeBlanc.
I'd like to move staff recommendation.
Is there a seconder for staff recommendation? Second by Councillor Strike. Discussion.
I want to hear some discussion here.
Well, this is the council round first.
I think this is very premature. What I want to bring this forward to have further discussion, to get more input from the public. That the meeting that we had wasn't advertised as a public meeting. It wasn't even in municipal matters, in fact. So I'm sure there's a lot of people in town who would like some input in this, since it affects every resident within Carleton Place. I hope that the vote tonight is not too. I'd like to bring it forward. That's what I'd like to do, to have more time to discuss.
Mayor LeBlanc.
The meeting of the June 4th, it was a meeting for the educational council. That's what it was set for. And we received education from both sides of the argument.
I think that was very unfair. This is a very, very public matter. It's a very controversial issue. My approach to this has always been for education. I allow people to, I don't want to be a fanatic in this. I don't want to shove it down anybody's throat. I want people to educate themselves, and I can't imagine anybody with any intelligence looking at the information that's available wouldn't see a red flag and delve into it enough that you would, there is grounds to suspect. If you're not 100% sure that this is not a detrimental effect to the public, I can't see if you can make a decision to leave it in.
Councillor Negus?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Jerry, I support your concern that this should be brought forward for a couple of reasons, and I'd like the opportunity to state them if I may. Earlier this morning, there was a very simple request to have this brought forward to the September meeting, which is 3 months away, in all fairness, but the reason I support the motion, or your request this morning, Jerry, was this item has been on the agenda for 2 years. For 2 years it sat on that agenda item. And my recollection is, and it's pretty good, that nobody asked this item to be brought forward beyond the bring forward that we had on our agenda item. So I'm not sure why we're being so hasty after only 3 weeks of hearing the pro and the against fluoride presentations in the auditorium, why after only 3 weeks we are now very hastily, in my opinion, making a motion to what? To continue with the status quo. We're not making a decision here. All we're doing is, well, it's a decision to do the same thing. If that's a decision, then, so why not let this, I mean, both sides came up with some excellent information. I was proud of what I heard up there, the pro side and the against side. It was an excellent evening for me, and I don't know why we wouldn't continue this discussion. And as recently as this morning, the officer of health, medical officer of health for Lanark County, responded to a resident in the community as recently as this morning, I haven't had time to read the email, but there is a discussion going on this issue right now. Why would we cut that off? Why would we hasten to eliminate that discussion? I don't understand why. 2 years, no one said a word on this issue, except me, to bring it forward and to have the discussion. And 2.5 weeks later, we're hastily making a motion to do what? To do the same thing we've been doing all along, status quo. What's the harm in continuing the debate and the discussion that we're having? What's wrong with that? Mayor LeBlanc?
If I'm not mistaken, the item was well, certainly was dealt with or brought forward. And the idea was that Councillor Flynn was going to find some people on the side of removing fluoride, and Dr. Paula Stewart had already been set up by the staff to speak, and we were waiting for Councillor Flynn to find someone who was going to speak to have the fluoride removed. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I think that we were waiting for.
It's, the only issue I have is that I feel we should let the public have their input.
Mayor LeBlanc?
And I suggest that this is a decision of council. The decision was that we were going to have an education session so that council could make the decision. We did have the education session. We had members of public who spoke on both sides of the issue and spoke eloquently and passionately about it. We have received emails about it. I don't think that we're going to gain anything further to help us make a decision by gaining more information from the public. I think that we've received compelling evidence for the continuation of fluoride from the experts in the field of health and dental health and drinking water. And I personally don't feel that we certainly received information from the people who are proposing to remove fluoride, but from my own standpoint, I feel quite comfortable in making my decision tonight. I think that both sides have had plenty of opportunity to state their case, and I think that it's time we made the decision.
You made the decision 100% this is not detrimental to people's health. There's no chance that this is detrimental.
100% comfortable with listening to the experts in our experts in health and dental health in our country and in other countries.
Deputy Mayor?
Oh, okay. I'm going to vote against this motion, mostly out of stubbornness, I guess, because the motion should be whether or not we're going to plebiscite. That was what the education was for. And as stated in the recommendation, the status quo and continued fluoridation of the water will continue regardless of the vote. So we can let it go for a month, for a couple of months, and nothing is going to change. So I'll have to accept, well, the conversation and the discussion and the determination of what is or is not appropriate. It should give the average resident, ratepayer, citizen an opportunity to think over the summer. So I don't think there's an urgency to make the decision, remain with the status quo, remain with the fluoride. And if things haven't changed, or our minds haven't changed in the fall, we can vote either to go to a plebiscite or not. If we do not, then we're voting for the status quo. We're not looking at staff recommendation.
Mayor LeBlanc?
The question doesn't need any response. How many minds were changed on June 4th? With all the information that we've received before then, and the information we received that night, and information we received since.
Are you asking me?
Nope, I'm just asking a question generally, and I don't need a response to it.
It's a rhetorical question.
Councillor Hackett.
Well, I got a point to make. My answer, if that question were directed at me, would be, why wasn't that question asked before the motion was made? If you were interested in that answer, or if you're truly...
I'm not interested, it was a rhetorical question. I actually know the answer, I guess is what I'm saying, Councillor.
I suggest that you do not know where my mind is on that issue. And I resent that comment. But getting to the point, we don't make decisions. 2 weeks ago, we heard from the OPP. We got the contract, we went through that process, and we have decided to not execute that contract for 6 months. Why? Why?
Money.
The money's not going to change. The contract and the cost of it is not going to change.
Bought us time on an old contract. If we'd signed the contract, we would have been paying right from the start of the 6 months.
I just want to speak to just the one point of procedure that Councillor Flynn referred to earlier, that for this particular evening, this meeting and this item was advertised on Municipal Matters and published on the council agenda. What else was it published? Paul, was it on the signboard, do you know?
Wasn't in Municipal Matters?
I read it in the paper.
Yes,
I'm sure I did.
yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
I saw it.
Thank you, Hilda.
It was, yeah, but it wasn't listed as a fluoride. Fluoride wasn't listed in the
Yes, it
municipal.
Yes, it was.
As a separate item.
It was.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
That's all I read.
Thank you, I just want to put that
Wait,
there for
oh,
the
this-
information.
Prior to that meeting that we had?
No, I'm talking about for tonight.
Oh, no, I was talking about.
I realized what you're talking about then. I said for the purpose of this evening.
It was not advertised as a public meeting. In fact, the fluoride wasn't even mentioned in Municipal Matters at that time. So the public really didn't have a chance to respond. Tonight's different.
I'll ask questions from the audience in a minute. Councillor Strait.
I received about, when I checked before the night that we had the meeting, there were 76 emails that I had on the subject, and there's now over 100 I haven't still. And I apologize for not being able to attend that meeting, but I did ask everybody that I talked to attend the meeting, and a lot of them did. And all of them commented on leaving it alone. Not one changed their mind. From that meeting, I received one email of one resident who went to the meeting, and he changed his mind. Only one. And
To which
so-
side of the sword, you know?
One suggested that we take it out, and he was leaning in that direction. So I personally go along with the experts, the professionals, the doctors, the dentists, and that's where I base my final decision.
Councillor Black?
Yeah, I'm, as a councillor, very comfortable with the due diligence I believe this council and myself have undertaken on the issue of fluoridation. My position is I will support the staff rec that the long-standing practice of adding fluoride to the drinking water continue. To the anti-fluoride lobby, I suggest that we could, in 3 to 5 years, review again this issue as further scientific and health benefit documentation, and the battle of reports is somewhat more solidified and qualified, I guess. So continue for now and look at it 3 to 5 years from now again, as many municipalities have added it and some have dropped it. So we'll see where the consequences are.
Any other member of council? Members of the public? Matt, I'm Marky Richard, so you get to go first again.
Just a few items. One is from the investigation I've done since the last meeting. 1, fluoride scares the pants off me. 2, I can't filter it out of my water. I do filter my town water because I don't want all the junk that's in it. And once it gets to my tap, before that I don't care. Keep it nice and clean, put in the Javix and everything else. But filter fluoride is extremely expensive for a home user. And number 2 is the pollution we're actually sending downstream, because we're bringing in the fluoride at 0.1 in the intake valve, and we're putting it out at the other end at 0.5 of whatever parts per million or whatever it was. So we're actually sending that down the stream towards Almont, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. So we're actually adding it to our fish and everything else in the water, because we are not removing it at the sewage treatment plant.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else like to speak? Matt?
To comment on what Councillor Black just said, he mentioned that there needs to be more solid evidence from the opposition to fluoridation.
Well, I'm both equally mad.
Okay, so you're okay with putting fluoride in where there isn't enough solid information?
I'm very comfortable with the recommendation by the Health Department of Lanark County.
Right, but they don't have proof to, through clinical trials that say hydrofluorosilicic acid in our water is safe or effective. That's my first point. My second point was to what Mayor LeBlanc said, that she respects the opinions of the experts in the medical field in Canada and around the world, and there's many experts in Canada and around the world that are also opposed to fluoride, in addition to the ones that support it. And I think the big point is what I just mentioned, that there's no clinical trials that prove hydrofluorosilicic acid in our water is safe or effective.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else wish to speak?
Yeah, I would.
You are, sir.
My name's Josh Cohen.
Hi, Josh.
Look, Mayor LeBlanc, I understand that it was an education session for council, but I think, I was there, and I'm sure many of us were, sorry, sweetie, but if anything, I walked out of that more educated myself, and I know everyone else did. And I'm not pro or con for this issue whatsoever. I don't know what side I'm on. However, what I do feel is though there needs to be a fair process with how this is being dealt with. And for council to make a decision or to accept staff's recommendation 3 weeks after a town forum, which in the last 7 years I've been in this community, I've never seen anything like that, I think is a little too rushed at this time. There is no rush, actually, to make a decision on this. We have till September. We have till 2014. I don't know. But right now, we don't need to, I personally feel as though we don't need to make a decision. A little bit more education can be brought forward over these next couple of months. It's also up to us as residents to, educate ourselves. But I think right now, to make this recommendation to vote for yes is a little premature. I still think we need a little bit more time to decide on this.
Thank you, Josh. I would ask the committee one question. If this motion is not accepted tonight, what is the process you wish to follow going forward? Another public forum? When does this, how do you see this coming to a vote at some point in time? And I think we should be clear on that.
We should have that discussion after the vote, Rob.
It's not the first item we'd be at.
That was what I was hoping we'd just have a discussion as to what we're gonna do. I didn't realize it was gonna be a black and white vote tonight. I thought we'd be discussing where we're gonna go with this and what the next step is. So
Okay, so
I was caught off guard actually with the staff rec.
okay, well, anybody else? Jim?
If you want to look at public opinion since the meeting, there wasn't that much, but after last week being posted online, on YouTube, on carletonplace.com, that blog has really increased pro and con. It's just something that people are starting to take an interest in and read and make comments.
Okay. In the discussion, we have a motion on the floor and seconded. So we'll take a vote.
I'd like to record.
Recorded vote then. And the recommendation is that as recommended by the municipal officer, help the long-standing practice of adding fluoride to the drinking water continue. Moved by Mayor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Strike, was it? Thank you. Recorded vote.
Councilor Antoinette.
Nay, the question is just not right.
Councilor Black.
Yay.
Councilor Flynn.
Nay.
Mayor LeBlanc.
Yay.
Councilor Grover.
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Sonnenberg.
Nay, I'm a firm believer that given a chance, the population will make the right decision.
Councilor Strike.
Yay.
Motion's carried.
So, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, the motion is to status quo.
Correct. Okay, moving on to the next item, recovery of costs.